Halo 3 ODST is a very unique game. It's the only game in the Halo franchise where you're not playing as a Spartan. It's pretty low budget for this series, and it's a pretty short game. You play as an ODST known as the Rookie. He's a completely silent protagonist, which is also kinda weird for the series. And you're wandering through the war-torn city of New Mombasa. You're alone, everything's empty, the city's dark, it's pretty film noir. That aspect of loneliness is also pretty unique to the Halo franchise. In every other game, you're never really alone. In the main Halo games, where you're playing as Master Chief, you almost always have the AI Cortana in your helmet. Or you've got the Arbiter, or there's civilians, and in Reach you almost always have Noble Squad, or, well, what's left of Noble Squadron. As the Rookie, you're going through the streets of New Mombasa at night after your squad drops, and your drop pods get sent off course by an ONI officer, Captain Dare. ONI is the Office of Naval Intelligence. You're taken off course by her because you got a completely different mission that you and the rest of your squad aren't privy to. And so you get separated from your squad and you wander the city to try and find them. You come across what appears to be an ATM that lets you have the closest thing you'll get to a companion, which is a subsection of the city's superintendent AI known as Virgil. Virgil guides you to these items left behind by your squad mates. This lets you access flashback missions of what happened. It's not a cutscene, but rather you get to play the events in a level from your squad mate's point of view. And that way is how you piece together the story. This way of storytelling, where you're always playing instead of watching a bunch of cutscenes, though there are still some cutscenes, is part of what makes it so immersive. And it makes it feel more human and natural.
It's like a family.
And there's never just a bunch of exposition dumped on you. It all feels meaningful. It really brings the characters to life, and I think that's part of this that has to do with the lower budget, because they had to make every word count. But aside from the Rookie story, there's hidden audio logs laid around New Mombasa City where Virgil interacts with a 19-year-old called Sadie. The story is from the perspective of Sadie, and she's trying to get to the outskirts of the city to enlist in the UNSC to help fight against the Covenant. Sadie is the kid of Dr. and Dasha, who made the city's superintendent, and Virgil with it, specifically to watch over Sadie. So not only do you get the immersive experience from playing as the Rookie, wandering through the streets in the dark with the music, but you also get this side story that you can listen to by interacting with the world. And this adds to the immersion, in my opinion. Something that it does brilliantly with the music is that in most games, one area will have one track that loops over and over. Whereas in ODST, the track plays once and then it's done, and you don't have that background music. It just adds to that loneliness. There's another part of the game's storytelling where it very heavily seems to be based off of poetry. See, the game as a whole, and especially the AI Virgil, I believe to be based off of and referencing the first part of the Divine Comedy, the Inferno, by Dante. One of the big references is that you're being led through the city by an AI called Virgil. The city's like a hellish landscape, and in Dante's Inferno, Dante is led through hell by a Roman poet named Virgil. Sure, this could be a coincidence, totally possible, but wandering the Mombasa streets really feels like it's meant to be limbo. You're lost, it's where you find Virgil, it's so desolate and quiet. And sure, could be a coincidence, totally possible, but wandering the Mombasa streets really feels like it's meant to be limbo. You're lost, it's where you find Virgil, it's very desolate and quiet. And in Dante's Inferno, Virgil resides in limbo. And that's where Virgil begins to guide Dante. And in ODST, the streets of New Mombasa is where Virgil starts to guide the Rookie. Another level that I feel is a strong example of this parallel is Kikowani Station, which is the 7th flashback level and the final flashback level in the game. One of the reasons why I think that this fits so well is because the 7th layer of hell in the Divine Comedy is for violence. And violence is what you do in this level. I mean, it's kind of what you do in every level, but this one in particular. It's by your choice. You go back into the city as Buck with the rest of the crew minus the rookie and Dare to save Captain Dare because Buck realizes where she is.
Come on, Veronica. What could be more important than that carrier?
My orders. And Buck, call me Captain.
Mickey, turn around. Find a safe place to set us down.
What? Why?
I lost something. Now I know where to find her.
You blaze a path of destruction through the city that you were already free from. Another super strong example of this, probably stronger than Kikowani Station, is the level Data Hive. You're back as the rookie, and as the rookie, you hear a distress message from Captain Dare. So, you go into the sub-levels of the city, and you're able to start at sub-level 7 thanks to Virgil. You fight your way down to sub-level 9, where you meet Dare, and make your way deeper into sub-level 9, where you make it to a part that is frozen. And in Dante's Inferno, the 9th level of hell is frozen. You and Captain Dare have to find an engineer, which is a species of alien that we hadn't seen in the games before. That doesn't seem to be like the rest of the Covenant. Rather, it appears to be enslaved by the Covenant. They aren't quite treated equal. We see some brutes strapping bombs to some of the engineers, and they're like living hard drives. They can contain data and they can store data. That's what this engineer has done. It's stored the data of Virgil in it, and so now you and Captain Dare lead Virgil out of the sublevels and into the city. And once you guys are back out of the sublevels into the city, you meet up with the rest of your ODST squad. And they help take you and Virgil out of the city into freedom. So, the game starts with Virgil guiding you through hell, and ends with you guiding Virgil out of it. Another thing that this game does really well story-wise is it truly makes you realize how badly humanity is losing in the war against the Covenant. Sure, we see it in all the other games, though you play as Master Chief, who's the last line of defense against the Covenant, and is seen as an unkillable super soldier, known as a Spartan. But at this point, you're one of the last Spartans remaining, especially one of the last Spartan 2s. And while situations seem dire and humanity is clearly losing, humanity never feels lost when you're with the Chief, because you're the Chief. The Chief is there, he's a myth, he's seemingly an unstoppable force, and it feels as long as the Chief is there, humanity can't fully lose. In ODST, the Chief is nowhere to be seen. I don't even think he's mentioned once. And you've lost this symbol of hope. And because you're not a Spartan, you can't do all the things that the Spartan can. You don't feel as powerful. Like, if you get hurt as a Spartan, you just regenerate that health. But if you get hurt as an ODST, then you have to find a health pack that wasn't taken by a fleeing civilian. Which is actually another interesting aspect about this game. That is, in every other game where there's a conflict on a human-occupied planet, there's civilians. However, there's no civilians in this game, which just adds to that sense of loneliness, that sense that you've lost. And even though in the end, you're able to get your squad back together and out of there, you're able to save Virgil, you don't feel like you've won. You feel like you've stopped some things. You stopped your teammates from dying. You stopped the Covenant from getting the intel Virgil has. But you still definitely lost. There was no winning, and there never was. It just adds to how tough this war seems, especially being a human in the war. It really lets you connect more to the characters because you're not some super soldier or myth like you are when you play Master Chief. You're an unnamed soldier. It's all these little perfect storytelling pieces and inspiration that they seem to take from Dante's Inferno, which just makes it seem like such a nice story. It's probably one of the most impactful stories in the Halo series, and in my opinion, it's the best Halo game. Now, Halo isn't a stranger to taking inspiration from poetry, which is what makes this all the more believable. There's always been poetic inspiration, and we see that from starting in 1999, before the game even released in 2001. And this happened during the Cortana letters, which was a series of emails sent out to people who were subscribed to Bungie's newsletter that were kind of teasing the Halo games, and no one knew who Cortana was at the time. The first letter is, "I've walked the edge of the abyss. I've governed the unwilling. I have witnessed countless empires break before me. I've seen the most courageous soldiers fall away in fear. I was there with the angel at the tomb. I have seen your future, and I have learned there will be no more sadness, no more anger, no more envy. I have won. Oh, and your poet Eliot had it all wrong. This is the way the world ends. A friend of a friend. That ending of the Cortana letter directly references T.S. Eliot's poem, The Hollow Men, where he says, "This is the way the world ends, not with a bang, but with a whimper."